Ebro, Laura, and Rosenberg, welcoming to the program Althea Stevens, also Kevin Riley. They have started something that they are calling the Hood Caucus. One voice, but many hoods. How you guys doing today?
You're doing good,
Welcome.
bro. Thank you for
Great.
having us.
I want to. Our team here got this over to us and suggested we have you guys on. We were very excited to do it. Also, we want to shout out Natasha Williams, a council member. Now, Althea, you're a council member, and also you, Kevin, are also a council member. We'll start with you, Althea. Which areas of New York City do you represent?
I'm a council member for District 16 in the West Bronx. And that is, I like to just say the Yankee Stadium area. So High Bridge, Grand Concourse, Mount Eden, Morris St. Air Rights. And so, the west side of the Bronx.
And for you, Kevin?
I represent Uptown, so I'm in District 12. So I got Baychester, Edenwald, Co-op City, ECG, Allerton area.
And when you talk about a council member, because as we're watching right now, a lot of people don't understand the levels of different types of representation in government, right? So you have state representatives, you have city representatives, and you have federal representatives. You guys operate at which level?
The city level.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, and I pass it over to Kevin as well. But a big part of my job is explaining to people what I actually do.
Right.
Because most people don't understand that we are city legislators. So when you think about like trash pickups, stop signs, NYPD, any programming that's in the in your community, and we really affect your day-to-day life. We also are in charge of passing the budget, which we just passed on June 30th, which is $1.2 billion, along with the mayor. Did I forget anything, Kevin?
No, I mean, pretty much it's just oversight over city agencies and the quality of life that residents in New York City see on a day-to-day basis. The council members play a part, but I think when people think of government, they usually think on the executive or national level. They're thinking about the presidential race, you'll think about the governor or mayor race, but there are there are legislators out there that impact your day-to-day quality of life.
Well, and that's a part of why you guys are activating, because you want to bring young people and local communities more into the process. Kevin, can you talk about what this Hood Caucus is really trying to start as a movement?
So we got elected. I started out earlier with the special election, but we all got elected pretty much about 3 years ago. And as we got elected, we realized that the voter turnout was really, really low within the community. But it's not really more about voter turnout. It's about civic engagement, because Althea, Dr. Williams, and myself, we really preach more about civic engagement, being actively involved in the political process. And we saw that civic engagement was really, really low within our communities. And typically, because voter turnout is low, elected officials typically pay attention to those communities that come and vote out. So what Councilmember Althea Stevens and Dr. Williams and myself tried to do is we formulated the Hood Caucus because we really wanted to foster a culture within our communities that we're impacting those who feel like their voices aren't heard within the communities and showing them how the political process works. We pass tons of laws every day. We have the active budget that Councilmember Stevens just spoke about, but we want to show you how that works and how that impacts your day-to-day quality of life.
If people want to reach out or engage with this movement, how can they do so?
We have an IG page. I think you can talk about it.
Oh yeah, I mean, we have an IG page that all of us we're on and activating, and we're always putting out content. It's called the Hood Caucus Hood Caucus NYC. Also, we're super accessible because we're city legislators. We are here all the time, right? So when you think about state, they're in Albany. When you think about Congress people and senators, they're in DC. So with us, we're actually here. All of us have offices in New York City. So I have an office in the Bronx, and Kevin as well, and Dr. Williams has hers in Queens. But we also have City Hall. We have offices there. And so we're super accessible. Folks can reach out to our office. We all have individual IG pages. And that is the point of council members, is for us to be here on a daily basis, to be responsive to the community's needs.
We had a caller the other day, and I was really excited to have you guys on. We had a caller the other day called in and wanted to explain to me that, quote, the hood is in support of Trump. And I said, what do you mean? What do you mean, the hood? Because I'm offended that people always try to, A, use the hood as a euphemism for black people when they're not black, and B, assuming that all black people have the same political affiliations and alignments. And then, like, who are you talking? And then, like, we all live in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
I think that's because they think all black people are the same. We are the only demographic that you think everyone's relatively the same. And we talk about the hood, and that's what we're really trying to do today is really educate people on what's going on with the political process. I think when people aren't really engaged with the civic engagement, they pay attention to the Trump administration, and a lot of people remember the stimulus checks that they received at that time, and we're really
Who was done
excited
by
about that.
Congress, so
Yeah,
not
it was really done by Congress, not really by the Trump administration. So, and Councilmember Steve, I'll make you continue.
Yeah, and understanding the policies. And so I think also too, when we think about Trump, most people think about Trump from the 80s when he was on A Life of Rich and Famous. He was, he had his show, he's a reality
Or
star.
The Apprentice, right?
Right, The Apprentice. And so he's been in people's lives and homes for a number of years. But we have to think about, like, yes, people see that and people aspire to be that, and they thought that they wanted to be. And then you see all the things that's going on with him now, right? He has 36 felony charges and all these things. And unfortunately, he keeps saying that he's more black now because of those things are happening. So the question is, like, we only associate with negative things. And I think, earlier we were having a conversation around, like, we have to understand that Black people specifically are hardworking, everyday people. And so how do we then say that all of us associate with the negative things that he's promoting in the Black community and Black culture?
Well, go ahead, Rosenberg.
Sorry, bro. Since you guys are actually in different communities, talking to different people, how much is there to this idea that Trump has gained in the black community? Do you guys on a real level, talking to people every day, sense that there's any truth to that?
So I will say this, I think it's twofold to your question, because I think that when you look at more people who are engaged, right? So there's different sectors of people, right? And so when you think about even what Councilmember Riley was saying earlier, we have been promoting civic engagement. So when we're talking people who are typically civic engaged, who are on our community boards, who are coming to the meetings, and who are part of the process, they are very much understand their assignment around, like, we need to save our democracy. But then when we're in our communities, there is some heated debate around, like, well, what's wrong with Trump and those type of things. But it's our jobs as educators and legislators for them to understand and connect the policies of what is really actually being said and spoken about into their actual lives. And so I've had many conversations with people on, like, why his policies were detrimental, and even thinking about the people that he surrounds himself are damaging, and understanding the process of when you're thinking about the whole government apparatus. But I have had to have strong conversations with people to help them understand the process in a more holistic way than they actually see, other than, like, the stimulus checks, or he's been in the rap songs, or he just got off with 36 felonies, and understanding, like, okay, but how does that affect your life?
Well, it sounds like, sorry, Kevin, it sounds like what you're saying. There's people who are actively involved in the process. They're more knowledgeable. And the people who aren't as involved in the process are more affected by these kind of, news cycles and false information.
Well, I wouldn't say more knowledgeable. What's also happening right now is people are more accessible to information, and people are seeing things on a day-to-day basis. And us as Democrats, and Althea, Dr. Williams, and myself, we're honest to say we don't really do a good job with promoting the great things that we are doing with our parties as well. And the Republican Party, they're really, really committed to staying together. Even when they have a horrible candidate, you can even see when the presidential election happened, you saw a lot of, powerful Democrats, calling for President Biden to, step down from the election. But you have two candidates that were not capable of running the country right then and there. You didn't see anyone from the Republican Party really calling for President Trump, former President Trump to step down and get a better candidate as well. And I think the Democratic Party, people are kind of frustrated because they're really tired with just, shoving down democracy, Democrats. And they think our biggest points are always pointing to racism. Every time the Democrats are always trying to point, like, hey, you shouldn't support that party, it's because of racism. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why we formulated the Hood Caucus, because we want to showcase, the entire process. There is a process where you could, vote for a Democratic primary nominee, where people can be active early on if you believe President Biden wasn't a good candidate. If you saw another elected official or another community leader out there and you wanted to elevate their voices, this is how you organize and this is how you do it. And this is why it's important that we formulated this, because we want to break it down to every detail to let you understand why it's important for you not only to vote. Voting is cool, but you really have to be involved in the civic process and civic engagement.
But also, just to add to, the local government is such an important piece, because that is what feeds up the ladder, right? When you think about, and people never talk about like state elections and council members, because even when we're looking at, democracy and being dismantled, it's being dismantled at the state and city level. And so that's why it's so important for people to understand and know what your city council members are doing and know what they're voting on, because it's just a reflection of what's going to happen in the federal at the federal level.
Althea, it's interesting you say that, because we actually have this conversation a lot on our show about local elections, and we're in the media. And we have a hard time following when the elections actually are happening and getting a hold of the information in a timely manner and being able to communicate that. Now, this probably is a New York City, New York State issue, because the elections happen and it's a tough cadence to follow, right? Like and you have to actively go seek out information sometimes.
Well, now it's easier because the primary elections are always in June now.
Okay.
So everyone could always anticipate the state elections, like the governor's race, state assembly, state senators. Those are every 2 years.
Okay.
So right now we're in a government, state assembly, and state legislators race right now. So the next time they'll run is in the next 2 years. So every 2 years, you can always anticipate that your governor has to run for office. And that happens every June.
And to keep it easy, every even 2 years is when the state electeds have to run. So I don't know if that's easier.
So 2026 and so on and so on.
Yes, every even year.
And so then what about, and that's state, but what about city?
That's state. So city's a little different because we don't run on their schedule. Because we have 4-year terms. So our terms are longer. So we are every 4 years, odd years. So it's a little bit different because we have a 4-year term.
But that's my point. Is the average hardworking individual or person who is not really civically engaged, going to find this information, it really takes somebody to give a damn.
But let me tell you what the real issue is, because that's not the issue. The issue is, where do you learn this at?
Well, there you go.
Let's really talk about what the real issue is, because if this was something that was taught in public schools and it was part of the education curriculum, it would be more innate around like, oh, this is the election cycle. But this is not taught in schools. This is public information, but it's incumbent upon the electeds to go out and teach this information, especially in you have hardworking people who have jobs, they have families to take care of, and now they have to remember this. But part of this is a failure on our education side, because the education around elections is like non-existent. And that's something that I've been promoting and really pushing forward for us to have a better curriculum in our school system. So this can be something taught from elementary all the way through high school.
Well, and also I would add in that I think I've believed for a long time it's not taught, because you often hear electeds talk about serving the voters, the people who actually show up to the polls and cast votes. And so if you're not actually engaged, they're not talking to you.
And it keeps your voter base smaller.
That's right.
The work that you have
and it's easier to control.
Yeah, and it keeps your accountability base smaller too as well. And this is why, that's why we said at the beginning, like, vote in school, but we want you to be civically engaged. Like, we have community boards. As council members, when we pass legislations, we have hearings. You could go on the city council website.gov and you can look up every single hearing that you do. Councilmember Stevens is in charge of youth services, so she has a lot to do with DYCD, summer youth programming. I'm in charge of zoning and franchises. I have a lot to do with affordable housing and building within New York City. Dr. Williams is in charge of civil and human rights. She has a lot to do with human rights and what we do with our workers within New York City. So there are different committees that each council member has, and we have hearings that people can actually sign up and testify. You don't have to come down and testify. You could testify virtually as well.
Listen, I really appreciate y'all coming on today. You got, and the IG is the Hood Caucus.
Yeah, the Hood Caucus NYC. And we just wanted to mention something real quick. We did something really dope for the youth in partnership with Councilmember Farrah Lewis, where we asked for $1 million from the administration, where we invested $1 million in youth entrepreneurship. And actually this August, we're taking, in partnership with Assemblymember Chantel Jackson, we're taking 100 Bronx kids to Invest Fest in Atlanta, I was about to say Atlantic City, in Atlanta. And we're really, really excited about that as well. So just wanted to shout out Chantel Jackson and Farrah Lewis as well.
And just also, we will be having a youth summit this fall to really celebrate young people and have them come together and really think about how we're building and pushing young people to the forefront and getting them civically engaged.
Can we have you guys back on closer to that date? Or maybe if there's a way for us to get that information out so we could get the kids out there, get the families.
Absolutely.
Before we let you go, you guys work hand in hand with the mayor. How is Mayor Adams doing on his job? We'll start with you, Althea.
Oh, we start. Okay. Well, listen. A few things, right? I never want to despair someone, but I think that he can do a better job at working with his colleagues, which is the city council. I think that, coming in, the mayor's job, and I tell people all the time, it's not a great job because think of a mayor who anybody ever liked, because it's just, can't please anybody. Yeah. But I think that the work that has been done, it's always a fight. And for me, it's thinking about how do you work collaboratively for the betterment of our community. And it often doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel that we work collaboratively. It doesn't always feel like it's in the interest of the people. And when you even think about right now, the city council is proposing advising consent, which would allow for the city council to have a say in who our commissioners are. And for those who don't know what commissioners are the people who are running our city agencies. So when we think about like HRA that does like food stamps and shelters, and our sanitation commissioner, our NYPD commissioner, all of those are people that serve the people, and we want to be a part of that process to have a say.
And he's trying to block. He's trying to block that. He want to take that from y'all.
He's trying to block that, and he will not allow for it to be on the ballot in November, because he created a charter revision committee, and he has his own questions that he's asking, which would be taking away power from the city council. Wow.
Right, because he's trying to change the city charter.
Yes.
Yes.
And Kevin, how do you feel about the mayor and this whole movement? Because this is one of his more egregious moves in changing the charter and not working with the city council.
Yeah, it's a very egregious move, and I think Councilmember Stevens said it well. I think when you think of the administration, and we've always stated this, when you're going to think of these last 4 to 8 years, it's going to be all of us. It's going to be city council and the mayor. What did we do to move New York City forward? And I think the administration hasn't been really doing a good job with collaborating and partnering with the council. We've done tons of outreach. We try to partner with the administration when it comes to gun violence intervention. We try to partner with the administration when it comes to housing. We try to partner with the administration with different aspects, but it seems like it's always just a fight. And this new charter revision commission that he kind of put together is really dividing our communities, and that's something that we really don't want to do. So I think moving forward, and we say this, we said this to him tons of time, I think he really, really needs to collaborate with us more and work with us more, because we want the best for our city moving forward together.
And we're also elected officials, just like he is.
Right.
Yeah, we got elected the same way.
Do you guys think Mayor Adams will win a second term?
Probably not.
Well, we also have elections at that time, so we need to make sure that we secure our seat for our second term.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Althea's focused. Yeah. Kevin's focused. They not playing with y'all. Well, we appreciate y'all time today. Thank you so much.
Thank
and
you.
we're
Thank
here,
you.
man. Y'all, reach out anytime. We're here. The floor is yours to get the word out to the community.
Thank
Appreciate
you so
y'all
much.
having us.
Appreciate you.
All right, take care.